Well, it's 91 in the shop, or about 33 Celsius. It's late May. We're heating up. Yeah. So, what is happening around the shop? Nancy and I visited an estate sale right around the corner from us, and we got a couple of nice little treasures. She picked up this little Harbor Freight hand truck. It's got the dual purpose handle. You can run it upright like this or pull the pins and put it horizontal and use it more like a traditional hand truck. She got it cheap. It does have some issues. These little Chinesium screws falling out, so I'm going to use some nice quarter 20s to reattach all of that with some lock nuts. Also, this little cross brace here that the front caster is attached to, well, in typical Chinesium fashion, they drilled the hole too big for the stud, put a lock washer on that was too small. It fell down inside the hole, so these nuts don't stay tight, so the wheels flop over, and that kind of bent this little cheesy axle, if you will. So I'm going to brace that up. I think I have some more robust casters. I'll get rid of those cheesy things. Get this all fixed up so it's a nice usable cart. She's thinking using that out in her garden area. Sorry if you're hearing wind noise, it's that thing. I scored this cool vintage Craftsman toolbox. Rounded edges, rounded and braced corners. This is the kind of stuff we used to build in the sheet metal shop in the Naval Shipyard way back in the day. Very nice toolbox. It needs some cleaning, and a couple things need straightening, but piano hinge here and here, nice solid built-in tray. That was probably originally designed for sockets and wrenches. I'll have a different purpose for that. Even came with a decimal equivalent chart. There's no key for the lock, but that's no big deal. I can scrounge that kind of stuff up. 2 drawers. Again, I think probably more sockets. Probably 3/8 up here, maybe 1/2 inch drive down here. Again, I won't be using that for sockets. I have other small tools that'll go in here. And then the larger, deep tray at the bottom. And it's typical slide, no roller bearings. You know, it's a Craftsman, so it's not going to have roller bearing slides, but that's okay. I got a pile of crap here that will go in there once I clean it up. It has been whirlwind. I gave a very brief glimpse on a short that I posted last night. So the carry-all is going to be a separate video all of its own. This guy right here happens to be a Craftsman LT 1000, like the Scrap Acquisition I brought home a month or so ago and featuring a couple of videos, although this one is the older version. It has the Kohler 16 horse overhead valve engine, whereas the one that I'm putting together has the 18 horse Briggs Intech, which could be a problem. Those things are known to self-destruct because for some inexplicable reason, Briggs decided to take a cue from the automotive industry and rig a compression release to the camshaft, so when the compression release fails, it grenades the whole engine. Well, if that happens, I have a backup. This thing is going to provide a lot of nice parts, like brand new front tires and rims, although this guy here is leaking around the bead, so I'm probably going to have to get some bead sealer. to fix that. We've got virtually the same controls, good steering wheel. I don't know if I can get that open. The requisite pack rat nest. Barely see it. The fuel tank. Fuel tank's in good shape, no cracks, unlike the other one. So yeah, this thing is going to provide some useful parts. So I got a box of goodies that arrived via United States Postal Service. Thank you, Postal Service, for getting it here unmolested. That's the deck rebuild kit. So that's going to be the first thing we tackle in this video. I'm conducting an experiment to see how much crap I can fit into the shop and still walk around in it. I think I'm getting close. I need to purge some junk. So before I forget, a quick backstory on both of these items here before we dive into that deck. My friend Jim, who you've seen on previous videos, the most recent is when we mounted the grinder that isn't out of the pump jack trailer, and Jim, dug out his belt lacing machine, and we made a drive belt for it. Jim had a lot of stuff stored up at our mutual friend Larry's place, and he needed some help cleaning that up. So I went up there to help him, because it's really tough for him to bend over at almost 88 years old and pick up heavy stuff. And so we hauled a lot of scrap metal out of there. He's going to take down to his place and other odds and ends. Well, long story short, our mutual friend Larry had these two items. He gave me that old LT 1000 and then offered this to me at a very reasonable price. So I couldn't pass it up. So followed me home. So Larry's in the process of doing some purging too. He's got 5 or 10 acres, and he's got a lot of cast iron. What I need to do is get Larry's permission to go up there and shoot a video, because you have to see it to believe it. All right, I've been blathering way too much. I've got the box open there. I'm starting to dig out parts. Let's get this deck fixed up. There's nothing left of these blades. Pretty well roached. Some of you might ask if I'm going to wire wheel and paint, or at least prime, the underside of this mower deck. I'm not, and the reason why I'm not is I live in the desert. The first time I fire that mower up, then the whole underside of that deck is going to get sandblasted. So I decided to prime the top of the collar, because this is steel, this is aluminum, dissimilar metals, and where it meets the deck and the aluminum, moisture and stuff gets in there, these are going to corrode. The rest of it I didn't prime because that's all exposed to the sandblast effect of mowing. So yeah, it's amazing. When I took this apart, the fasteners were 1/2 inch. Miraculously, they're now 13 mil. Wonder how that happened. Oh well. I guess we're supporting the global economy. I did put some grease on the threads that hold this in. Again, steel fasteners going into an aluminum housing. There's not a nut captivated inside. It's just they threaded the aluminum housing itself when they made these new spindles. So again, moisture mixing with dissimilar metals. That's corrosion waiting to happen. So just a little preventative maintenance there. I'm not using the impact to put these back in because, again, I'm threading a steel fastener into an aluminum housing. I don't want to strip those threads, so I'm just, using a ratchet, and I can feel how tight I want it to be, which is just snug, just enough to collapse the lock washer and not stretch or strip the aluminum threads in the housing of the spindle. There, that's good enough. I'll get the other one in off camera. I'll just snug it up as best I can. It's like I'm missing a washer. Well, I'm not missing a washer. This is bored to clear the splines in the shaft. But what they did, at least what I think they did, they indented the top, and you see how they deformed the threads when they did that? I think that's, you just drive that on with an impact and it glues itself and deforms those threads so you can't unscrew it. That's my guess. That's kind of a cheesy way to do it though. Oh yeah, and since they indented that top to deform the threads, it also pooched the nut out on this side, so you got to file that off so your 22 mil socket will actually fit on it. You gotta love overseas manufacturers' quality control. This is either gonna work or I'm gonna ruin it. One of the two. I don't like this at all. Man. I don't believe it. It worked. Well, the spindle pulleys are on there. I don't really like that setup at all, but they're not going to loosen up. This one's just got a slight wobble to it. Well, I bought it from eBay, so hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, well, I'll just have to spend more money, get a more robust setup. That's not right. There we go. The belt's on. I'll flip this over. We'll put blades on. We'll call it good. Well, that blade balances out pretty good. Let's take a look at the other one. See if it does the same thing. Not bad, maybe a little heavy on this end, but it looks good enough for what we're going to do. Oh, and just so you know, when you put new blades on, you want these flanges pointing towards the deck. When the deck's turned over, that actually provides the lift to send your cuttings out the chute. I'm going to have to ask my buddy Duke at Duke's World about that goofball spindle, the way to install that spindle pulley, because he's a very experienced small engine mechanic, lawn garden mechanic, and he's retired now, but he's got a lot of experience doing stuff like that. And Duke, if you're watching, chime in. If I've hosed it all up, let me know. Yeah, okay. I'll tighten the other one up off camera, and we'll close this video out. I think I said not too long ago I wasn't going to bring home any more projects because I have too many to get done. What do? Bring home more projects. But this one is going to be the functional mower around here once I get it done. This isn't a restore, it's more like a refurbishment. Get the you saw this video, just getting the deck back to functional working order again. I've got a kit arriving, I think, today. New air filter, oil filter, that kind of thing. Got a couple of tires to put on it, and then she'll be ready to mow. So I'll probably do just one more video on the Scrap Acquisition, latest Scrap Acquisition video series, and call it good, because, I mean, YouTube is replete with people putting together riding lawnmowers, so I don't want to run it to death. And this video is getting awful long, so I'm going to stop it here. Hey, picked up quite a few new subscribers recently, so I want to say welcome aboard if you're watching. Glad you're here. We have a good time bantering in the comments and chit-chat with other folks on other great channels. So glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. And as always, to my existing subscribers, I don't know why you're sticking around, but I'm glad you're here. I have a lot of fun talking with all of you. I've made some really good friendships with many of you. So, yeah, thanks for hanging around. So I'm going to sign off here. Duke, if you're watching, you can fill me in on the installation of those spindle pulleys. I've never seen anything like that before, and it sure looks janky to me, but with your vast experience, I'm sure you've probably run across something similar. So send me an email, give me a call, let me know if this thing's going to grenade on me as soon as I fire it up. Yeah. All right. That's enough. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon on the next one. Bye for now.